Interest, yes.
Adele, can you hear us?
Would you believe there's no NYCPPS?
I know there is.
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the disability meeting for September 2021. Let's please make our introductions for the record.
Stephanie Zimberg, designee for Commissioner Day.
Deanna Bakery, designee for control.
We also have the controls counselor.
Cynthia Collins and John Adler, designees for Mayor Bill de Blasio.
Phil Dukes, designee for Finance Commissioner Sharice Suleiman.
Joe Alejandro, PBA. Chris McGrath, PBA by invitation.
Salvador, PBA.
Thomas Gilmore, PBA by invitation.
Rod Shaw, PBA by invitation.
Nicole Jambrisi, New York City Police Pension Fund, present by invitation.
Anthony Burley, designee for Ed Mullins, SBA.
Jeffrey Ward, Texas Endowment Association.
Luchuk, OLBA.
Johnny Ramirez, designee of Chris Monahan, CEA.
Nick Safuni as counsel and by invitation for the DEA, SBA, LBA, and CEA.
Bob Saskistat, Pension Fund by invitation.
Andy Vincent Miller, Police Pension Fund, present by invitation.
Kevin Holleran, Pension Fund, present by invitation.
Sergeant Brooks, Medical Division, present by invitation.
You're in there.
Pastor Randall, Pension Fund, present by invitation.
Angela Tripp, Police Pension Fund by invitation.
Lenny Almonte, Pension Fund, present by invitation.
Diaz Pension Fund, present by invitation. Stanley Thomas, Police Pension Fund, present by invitation.
Okay, representing the actuary.
Gary Chan, City Actuary, present by invitation.
Keith, are you on also?
Yes, Keith Snow, Office of the Actuary, present by invitation.
Damien,
Damian Law, DUF Legal, present by invitation.
representing the law department.
Marta Ross, Law Department, present by invitation.
Okay, Gary, are you on?
Gary DeRosa, SBA, present by invitation.
Mark?
Mark Marino, present by invitation for PBA.
Okay, Dr. Santucci?
He is listed, but let's just, can we reach out to him and see, can he hear us?
He's muted, he's self-muted.
Yeah, he's self-muted, so I don't have it. Do you have a number?
I do have a number. So do you have his number?
He just came off mute.
I don't have a cell.
Dr. Santucci, can you hear us?
We can hear you if you hear us.
He just dropped off. He might be having connection issues.
All right, I'll reach out to him. At this point, we don't really need him until we start the case. So,
I don't have a cell.
I do have the cell. Yeah. Okay, with that, Joe?
Okay. Page 1, to accept the minutes of the previous meeting, Wednesday, August 11th, 2021, and to confirm the next meeting date, Wednesday, October 13th, 2021. Pages 2 through 5.
Joe, nothing of a controversial nature.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Okay, pages 6 through 12 of memorandum revised final fiscal year 2021 employer contributions. This is the actuary. The actuary have any comments? Or?
I made the presentation last month, but I'd be happy to run through it again if you like.
I think that would make sense. Go ahead.
Okay. Nicole, do you want to pull it up or do you want to give me access to pull it up?
I will make you presenter. Sherry, I've passed you presenter role.
Yes. Does everyone see the actual assumption change memo in front of you? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So this document spells out the revised 2021 A&M packet. This is a updated package from the one that was presented in January. This document is divided into two sections: the actuarial assumptions section, standing for A in A&M, and the actuarial methods section, that is the M in the A&M. So for the actuarial assumption changes, there were two changes. There was the updated mortality improvement scale recommended to go to the MP 2020 scale that is published by the Society of Actuaries. This is the latest table, the latest scale that is published by the SOA. And if you're interested in seeing the actual spreadsheet of the scale, there's a link that is available for you to click on in the soft copy. This is applied both to the pensioners and the non-pensioners, or the actives. It is for consistency to be applied to both these populations. The other actuarial assumption change is for updating the loan assumptions for tiers 1 and 2. We did look at the member demographics, and we are proposing a change from 100% down to 25% based on how many people are actually electing these loans. If you compared this document with the original 2021 A&M document in January, you will see that the economic actuals are taken out. So there's no longer a proposed change to the inflation. It remains at 2.5%. And because of that, there are also no change to the discount rate, salary growth, COLA, and the escalation. Moving on to the actuarial methods, this is the change to the actual value of assets to be reset to the market value of assets as of June 30th, 2019. Previous to June 30th, 2019, there were a net gain to the assets. So you did see that the actual value of assets was trailing the market value of assets because these gains were only being recognized over 6 years, being phased in. So this recommendation is to accelerate the recognition of it. Doing so as of June 30th, 2019 is very fiscally responsible, because since then, as you know, especially fiscal year 21, we've seen a really big asset gain on our assets. And because this is reset as of June 30th, 19, this still has in place the gains for fiscal year 21. It does not accelerate that recognition, and therefore we can save and bank some of these gains for future years that we might see an actual loss on the assets. Additionally, right now, or previous to this, I should say, the smoothing was over 6 years, recognizing the gain losses at 15% per year for the first 4 years, and then 20% for years 5 and 6. The proposal here is to move it to a 5-year smoothing, so that is recognized at 20% every year for the 5 years. So that is the summary of this proposal. I will try to stop sharing. There we go. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So I move to have a vote on the memorandum on the final year, fiscal year 2021 employer contribution. So roll call.
Roll call, okay, PBA?
PBA abstains.
I'm sorry. I just want to say that wasn't the final 21 employer contribution item I went through. That was the proposed changes.
I know that was the assumptions and methods. Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Okay, abstain from the PBA, DEA?
DEA votes yes.
SBA?
Yes.
LBA?
Yes.
CEA?
Yes.
Commissioner of Finance?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Controller?
Yes.
Police Commissioner?
Yes.
Okay, so moved.
Okay. I know the actuary went through it already, so on pages 13 through 18. So I make a motion to have a vote and roll call.
PBA?
PBA abstains.
DEA?
DEA votes yes.
SBA?
Yes.
LBA?
Yes.
CEA?
Yes.
Commissioner of Finance?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Controller?
Yes.
And Police Commissioner?
Yes.
So moved.
Okay. Now we have the memorandum, pages 19 through 28, revised finalization of transferable earnings from police to police officer variable supplement fund and police superior officers variable supplement fund as of June 30, 2019. I believe we had a lot of discussion on this, so the PBA would like to have a roll call vote on this.
Okay, PBA?
PBA abstains.
DEA,
DEA votes yes.
SBA,
Yes.
LBA,
Yes.
CEA. CEA?
Johnny, you there?
All right, Commissioner of Finance,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
Controller,
Yes.
and the Police Commissioner.
Yes.
Okay. The motion carries, just waiting on the CEA.
He's there.
You self-muted.
Got him?
You vote yes?
All right, again, motion carries.
Okay,
For the record, the CEA votes yes.
okay.
I'll keep you on.
Is there a motion to move into the police officer's variable supplement fund?
Motion to go into police officer variable supplement fund.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Yeah,
Second.
Yeah, second, perfect.
Cynthia Collins.
Okay, so now there's the, pages 29 through 41, the memorandum, police officers variable supplement fund, unfunded actuarial present value of accumulated plan benefits, and revised final skim as of June 30, 2019. PBA requests a roll call vote on that.
Okay, PBA,
PBA abstains on this one.
Mayor,
Yes.
Commissioner of Finance,
Yes?
Controller,
Yes.
okay, the motion carries.
Okay.
Is there a
PBA
motion?
makes a motion to get out of executive session on police officers variable supplement
And
fund and go
second?
into the executive session police pension. Public.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, on the mayor, okay. And now we need a motion to go into the, police superior's officer's variable supplement fund. Motion,
SBA makes a motion.
second,
Second.
okay, Controller? All right.
The agenda item is the PSOVSF unfunded actuarial present value of the accumulated plan benefits and revised final skim as of June 30th, 2019 for police to the PSOVSF.
Motion to approve.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any objections? All right, so moved.
Is there a motion to return to the general session of the police pension fund public meeting?
Yes. Controller.
Controller, second,
SBA.
okay.
Okay. Pages 55 through 74, memorandum updated preliminary fiscal year 2022 employee contribution. Sherry, any update on that? I know it was preliminary.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that this is the updated preliminary. The preliminary was distributed to this board back in May, discussed in June. That preliminary fiscal year 22 contribution was based off of the original 2021 package, but this updated preliminary fiscal year 22 employer contribution is off of the revised 2021 package that I just went through about 2 minutes ago.
Okay, PBA requests a roll call vote.
Okay, PBA,
PBA abstains.
DEA,
DEA votes yes.
SBA,
Yes.
LBA,
Yes.
CEA?
Yes. Yes.
All right, the CEA votes yes. Commissioner of Finance,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
Controller,
Yes.
Police Commissioner.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Okay, page 75, resolution regarding controller as custodian of the funds.
Nothing of a controversial nature.
So move that. However, I would always ask, as I've always done, were there any modifications or changes to this on the previous resolution?
There was the only modification upon perusing the version that is on page 75 in the packet is to the date. I do recognize that there was a question that you had asked the law department to look into, but I have not had any conversations with the law department. I'm not aware if anybody else did regarding any edits. So the version that was kindly provided here today is the standard version of what we have had passed previously, with one modification over the last decade, which was to line A, which the PBA had requested a change to several years ago. With that exception, we've just continued to update the dates. We were notified, if you recall, at the last meeting, that this resolution was actually not crafted by this board or by anybody sitting here. It was actually created by the law department in its original form, and we only made a slight modification as a board. That's my understanding of the history, and I'm just looking at Nicole to just check that somebody else's recollection is the same as mine.
That is correct. In researching another issue that was before the board, I found in our attorney-client privilege, I found a mislabeled PDF in our archive drive that was a packet of these delegation resos, and initially they came annually in June from the law department with a memo to the board explaining that they needed to update it for the year. And if you were to look at New York City Administrative Code 13-702, all of the sub-letters in this reso mirrored that statutory language exactly, except for that modification that was made by the PBA. And some years ago, we switched from annually to quarterly.
So Joe, that's the history in a nutshell.
Okay. I think it was to my understanding anyway, but it was a lot of work done. But
Some accidental work.
All right. So as self-serving as this sounds, we would like to so move it.
okay. This does not interfere or obligate us to do anything different than the discussion we're going to have later on the other matter on the resolution. This just deals with delegated authority as custodian of the fund.
Joe, I see you looking at me, but I would feel more comfortable if Marta answered that
Okay.
question.
Marta?
That appears to be the case, yes, Joe.
I'm sorry?
That appears
That appears to be the case, correct. It's separate and apart from the issue that you're addressing later about the SIM, correct?
Okay.
That's what you're
very
referring to, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so I make a motion to accept the resolution.
I believe I so moved it, so that
All right,
just
so-
required a second.
Second.
Okay, no objections? Okay, thank you. So moved.
All right, and page 76, regarding the election of officers as provided, Rule 10 of the Rules and Regulations governing conduct of the trustees of the police pension fund.
What is the platform of the candidates?
Yes, I'd like to know. There's been an election here, so.
it's a unique election. I would say that.
More like the
All right.
Banana Republic elections that they have.
As provided in Rule 10 of the Rules and Regulations governing conduct of the trustees of the police pension fund, Article 2, the first regular meeting of the Board of Trustees held in September of each year shall be the annual meeting with the election of the following officers. First Vice Chairman, Patrick Lynch, PBA, incumbent.
Cheers.
Second Vice Chairman, Christopher Monahan, CDA, also an incumbent, I noted. And Secretary, Louis Turco, LBA, incumbent. Are there any other nominations for the aforementioned positions?
Mr. Adler, you okay?
Hearing none, Mr. Adler, okay. Hearing none, we will close the nominations and show that one ballot has been cast for each of the incumbents.
Sounds like it's 2019.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, everyone. Pat Lynch will send out congratulations to all the other candidates, but he won. Okay. Finally, discussion, participation in the SIM. Do we have to have an attorney-client for that, or we're going to? Is anybody else?
I think it could be a public
Okay.
session.
All right,
Unless we ask the law department for legal advice, then we should go into attorney-client.
okay. Wait, excuse me? Unless we're going to ask the law department a legal question, and then we should request at that time to go into attorney-client. So this was requested by the PBA, myself, at the last, meeting, just in time. I knew the mayor was gonna be up to something on this one. Sounds like.
Hey, Bob, I believe I have my audio back.
You're alarmed, guy. You got it.
Okay.
Boy, that wasn't very loud, you're right.
It wasn't loud. It didn't seem like a.
Johnny's back.
Hi. I don't have as many of the actual resolutions. Do you want those?
No.
So Joe, you were saying that PBA.
So the PBA requested, to review whether to continue going, with the SIM. And I also received this email from, Controller Stringer. I won't address, much of it. He's making a case, for BAM to, I guess, continually, for us to continue with the SIM based on what seems to be an argument that BAM is doing a good job. But I don't know if that has anything in connection with the SIM. I'm not going to address that. I think at the end of the day that we had discomfort at the beginning with the SIM, and we still have. I know I've had conversations with people on the phone about it. I'm not dissuaded from my opinion that I would like to get out of the SIM. And so I'd like to, I don't know if we need a vote to get out of the SIM either, because I believe we were told at the very beginning that we could just, if this didn't seem to work out, we could just leave the SIM.
So maybe I'll say a few things, Joe.
Okay.
It doesn't seem, from what Joe just said and some conversations that I've had with him, that there's a clear rationale for getting out of the SIM. You know, I understand that, that the SIM structure may not be to everybody's liking, and the controller and the Bureau of Asset Management has always striven to make any adjustments that would, you know, increase the efficiency of the meeting. And, you know, we'll continue to do that if there are specific suggestions or questions that people have. Without anything more specific than we just don't like it, I think it's very challenging for this board as a group, not just one side or the other, to take a decision to make a significant change to the way investment decisions are made, because that is one of our core fiduciary duties. And there are very strong investment, financial, or fiduciary arguments that can be made for continuing with the SIM. With everyone's permission, because I circulated an email at the end of August, and I didn't really get any responses. So, you know, no discussion was had at this point among the trustees. So I'll make sure that everybody understands the point that the controller was making in sending around this email by reading it into the record right now. So this was sent by the controller of the City of New York, Scott Stringer, to the trustees of the Police Pension Fund on August 25th. Dear colleagues, the Common Investment Meeting, SIM, has facilitated a stronger, more effective, and results-oriented investment process for our pensions and staff. By reducing the number of investment meetings that BAM staff and managers attend per has allowed investment staff to prioritize new investment strategies, find new managers, and oversee current relationships to ensure that the funds are delivering for our retirees, which I believe we can all agree is our foremost goal and responsibility as trustees. Leaving the SIM and returning to a monthly investment meeting would sacrifice time, efficiency, and results, and therefore does not meet the board's fiduciary obligation to act in the best interest of the public. It does not have the support of a majority of the police fund. The SIM has yielded proven value to the system, as evidenced by increased deal flow compared with the time period before the SIM and strong returns over the past 5 years. For the 5-year period ending June 30th, 2021, total system performance net of fees for the 5-year period was 11.58%. PPF net of fees performance, I'm not going to read out loud because it hasn't been reported to the public yet, but you'll see it, and it's an impressive number. It's in the handout. The productivity and growth enabled by the SIM has resulted in increased private market deal flow and larger allocations of system assets into private markets. 132 deals closed between 2010 and 2015, representing an investment of approximately $26 billion. Between 2016 and 2021 year to date, 190 deals were closed or approved by trustees, representing $41 billion. This delta is a 44% increase in deal flow and approximately 61% increase in investment funds allocated. These figures are expected to increase through the end of the calendar year as more deals are approved by trustees and closed, making for an even greater increase on the full comparison between 2016 and 2021 and the 6 years prior. The SIM has also greatly improved our ability to strategically allocate capital to private equity, real estate, and infrastructure. 34% increase in PE deal flows since 2016, 59 to 73, and 60% increase in allocation of investment funds, almost $10 billion to approximately $16.7 billion. A 50% increase in real estate deal flow, from 32 deals to 48 deals, and a 94% increase in allocation of investment funds, approximately $5.8 billion to approximately $11.3 billion. Infrastructure has taken off since the SIM began, with a 600% increase in deal flow, 4 deals to 28 deals, and asset allocation up 464%, $1 billion to approximately $6 billion. The SIM structure has also facilitated more comprehensive and transparent dissemination of information to trustees. We've added an in-depth quarterly market and performance review by our Chief Investment Officer, Deputy Chief Investment Officer, and Chief Risk Officer. The Chief of Compliance and Director of Strategic Initiatives also makes annual presentations. Trustees of all boards have the benefit of hearing the questions made by other colleagues.
All right. Johnny, can you mute?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thus adding to the strength of their review and understanding of complex investment issues. These are clear metrics and a compelling rationale for continuing PPS participation in the SIM. I encourage my fellow trustees to review the quantitative benefits and encourage the board to evaluate this objectively. As a trustee, I will not violate fiduciary duty for other considerations. Sincerely, Pat.
So, this email, which went out, points to a few things, but leaves out quite a bit. You talk about increased deal flow, as opposed to how many other deals come in through the pipeline. You don't give me that metric.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
There are other deals, you said 132 deals were closed, but how many deals were put aside? For the 190 that were reviewed, or were closed or approved by trustees, how many were actually looked at by the consultants and brought forward?
Is that what you mean?
Yep. How many deals were actually put forward?
So, wait, are you?
Look, I didn't interfere. I'm going through your email.
Because, I know, and Joe, I just have to respond because you have in time and time again, don't roll your eyes, please listen to me.
Okay, I'm listening.
Brought up what I think is kind of a fictitious scenario of deals that somehow are existing out there, either, championed by the consultants or some trustees, that big bad BAM has squashed it or refused to look at. And I just want to remind everybody that, that's coming from Joe. That's not any kind of thing that is happening. And, we can talk about our diligence process, but it's a little bit more complicated than as he's saying.
Okay, so where's the due diligence process delineated in the law?
There is no due diligence process.
Okay, where is BAM delineated in the law?
I don't know.
Excuse me, John. I'm asking you. You came in with the email.
Yeah, we
Where is
can
it
ask the law
delineated?
department where I think that
It doesn't exist.
what's in the law
It
and what's
doesn't
in the
exist.
city charter and the administrative code is that the controller
Mhm.
is the custodian of funds and is the investment personnel for the city. And
Excuse me? Where is that in the law?
in the city charter and the administrative
Where?
code.
I'm asking you, where?
I don't have the site.
Because it doesn't exist.
Would you like
BAM
to
does
see-
not exist in the law. I'm gonna tell you what I know because I read it.
just said the controller.
Suzanne, I didn't
not
interfere
the
with you.
BAM.
I'm bringing a point. It doesn't exist in the law. It only refers to the Bureau of Accounting. There's no Bureau of Asset Management. This is totally
There is
delegate.
the controller
Excuse me.
existing, the
This is
controller's
totally-
office and the controller's responsibilities exist in the city charter and the law. You're
I-
right.
I understand you
The Bureau of
wanna
Asset
save
Management is
BAM,
not-
but I'm just saying, does not exist in the law. It's
BAM
a
does not
delegated
exist in the law. I
authority.
agree.
This is all delegated
You
authority.
just passed the
Corpus
delegated
funding was
authority.
created in order to assist BAM in monitoring our funds.
Correct.
You have created what essentially is a fictitious investment bank. You don't run money. You don't run money. Tell me one thing, one investment that BAM runs, other than what we've given to Alex Tornier, private equity emerging managers. And I've never gotten a report as to how that portfolio does. It would be interesting to know that a person who is delineated by your office to be the CIO can't even give me a report to tell me how well he does. I've asked for that a couple of times, never got an answer. So tell me how well BAM does running money when they don't. And as far as all this other stuff here that, it's nice to put up about deal flow. Let me go on. Real estate deal flow, infrastructure, all of those are real assets that are, essentially illiquid, but all of this goes to the issue that we have consultants and they make recommendations. Those deals go through the pipeline. BAM has created an investment group, an investment board to decide what comes before the trustees and what doesn't. That's not their role. It was never their role, never designed to be that. Yet somehow, that's constraining whatever comes before the board. How do I know? Because I've had these arguments with your office before. I won't go into individual investments, but that's what's happened. You don't have a record solely to show me BAM on its own has had any level of success outside the purview of a decision by the board. None. All the board makes the decision. And that way, if there's a success story, it's the board's success story, not BAM. The 26% gain was not Scott Stringer's gain, it was the board's, because we all voted on it. I understand you want to take credit for it.
That's
Success.
not fair. I didn't try to.
Well,
take
that's
credit
what,
for it.
that seems to be what's going on here.
No, I have to object, Joe.
Okay, object.
What I clearly stated and read in this email is an argument for a meeting structure called the SIM. It's not, this email wasn't about how great BAM is and how great BAM is doing. BAM is one part of many, as Joe mentioned, the trustees and consultants and your investment advisors who work in the Bureau of Asset Management. We're all part of a process and a whole. So you're absolutely correct, and I wholeheartedly agree that no one deserves single credit for the amazing gains that have resulted over the past years to the pension fund and the retirees. The point I'm trying to make is by having clear metrics, quantitative data points, comparing the period while there was multiple investment meetings and the period after a common investment meeting, and the difference between deal flow, number of deals, money out the door, and investment return. Real, concrete, quantifiable metrics that we are arguing, and people can make up their own mind as fiduciaries and as members of the board. Scott Stringer and John and I, as his representatives, are making an argument that the increased efficiencies that have occurred because of a single investment have contributed to the success of the police pension fund and all 5 New York City systems. And without a clear alternative for something else to replace the SIM, it is, in my opinion, and I would hope that that others would agree, that it is our fiduciary and trustee responsibility to stay with a system that's working and not replace it with something that was less efficient when it was in practice. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, and I would also argue, one other point that was left out here was there would be significant deal flow as a result of the growth of the fund. That means there's more money to put to work. And so as the fund has grown over a period of time, more deals, obviously there's more deal flow as opposed to right after 2008, right? Because there was a retraction in the market and less deal flow. There's more deal flow now.
Yeah.
So you can't take credit for 5 years and ignore the previous 3 years.
Presenting numbers.
Okay.
The numbers that I presented for the 5 years previous to the SIM and the 5 years since we've had the SIM.
Okay, so
the benefit of trustees that weren't around when the SIM was created. The old system was that BAM, consultants and managers, would present pretty much the same investment options to all 5 systems every month. So a lot of time and energy was spent getting ready for different meetings to present the same information, which is very inefficient. And it actually stopped us from engaging with some managers who didn't want to fly from London 5 different times in a month. So I'll just remind everybody that the rationale for the SIM was to benefit the systems and increase efficiency and ultimately increase our returns, which Joe may argue are points that maybe we are taking credit for when they're not due, but I think the numbers speak for themselves. The numbers before the SIM and after the SIM.
So I appreciate that. You made your let me finish, Sean. You made your point. I would say there's a difference of opinion here.
Sure.
As far as the boards, you made a very good argument why BAM doesn't want to trek around for 5 meetings. But I'm more concerned at the end of the day that the board here has made a decision or will make a decision one way or another, and we honor that. We were told when this was brought up to us, if this was not something that you want to continue, there would be no problem getting out of. I hold people to their word.
Yes.
And that's what I was told, and that's what trustees who were here remember. And now it seems like you've made an argument. It doesn't, to me, persuade me. Others will make their decision, but it is what it is. I don't feel comfortable anymore with the SIP, is what it is. I can still feel that we will make proper decisions as we did before the SIP, right? We did that before the SIM. We'll make decisions after. Like you said, ups and downs. We'll go through our ups and downs based on the market, but that's the way it is. I guess we can do what we have to do right now. I'm sorry, Joe.
Yeah, so I'd just like to weigh in. Joe, the critique that you just described of BAM would seem to me to have been an appropriate critique to make during the previous discussion we had about the delegation of investment authority to BAM as a custodian. You're criticizing BAM's actions and the way they handle their job as investment advisor. Let me just finish. I don't think that your critique is a valid criticism of the SIM. Like, I haven't heard what the objection is to the SIM. I hear what the objection is to the way BAM, or I should say the way the controller's office carries out its authority as an investment advisor to the board. But the SIM is really just a process, right? So the board comes together to hear investment recommendations from the consultants, from the managers, and from the controller's office. And whether we do that, and by the way, with the video that we have been doing, like what we've done, I think at the last SIM, I don't remember, it's the last two, the board gathered here and heard the presentations here, and then caucused here. It actually, the only issue is that you're hearing it at the same time as the other boards, as opposed to hearing it at some other time. So one day a month, this board is going to meet to hear investment recommendations and to consider those decisions. So whether it happens on the third Wednesday of the month, which is the regular day for the SIM, or some other day of the month, it doesn't seem to matter that much to me. And I haven't heard what your critique is of doing it that way, because it's not going to affect, at least not positively affect, the ability of the managers, the consultants, or the controller's office to manage money for us better, more effectively than they've been doing now.
And that's a valid point.
My opinion. Right.
Valid point. But it also works the other way. It won't change the performance going back to the prior method, which was police meets on its own and will decide what investments.
Well, one could argue. One could argue that. It would. That's the point. Look, I totally agree.
But how so?
I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
I totally agree with you that the performance is, frankly, it's the board and it's the market. And doing a comparison of the 5 years before the SIM to the 5 years after the SIM, I believe, is a meaningless comparison because the market performance was totally different. So, you might.
And the size of the fund.
And the size of the fund. Right. You might look at how we performed relative to our benchmark and say, did we outperform the benchmark during the 5 years prior to the SIM? Did we outperform the benchmark compared to the 5 years after the SIM? That might be a more valid comparison, but that's not here. I do think the way it does positively affect our ability to invest money is that it allows BAM to focus their preparations for trustee investment meetings for one day a month, right? So they put out the BAM, they put out the SIM material, the investment materials 2 weeks before the board meeting, the SIM, which, they put it out on Friday because this month the SIM is, a week from this coming Friday, right? And they only have to do that once. Now, sometimes they have to do some specialized stuff for police because only police is considering this particular deal or this particular portfolio, or, police is in some asset classes that other boards are not. So they do get individualized on that. But does it really make sense to force BAM and the managers to present twice the same material, both in written form and, in terms of oral or video presentations? I mean, how does that improve things for us? I don't think it does, but you guys may decide differently. And I totally agree with Joe's point that when we entered the SIM, because I was here, that we entered it saying that we would need a majority of the board to continue it. So if there is not a majority of the board, a 7/12 vote to continue it, then we discontinue it. And then we have to decide on a separate investment meeting. I just don't see the merits of it and the advantages to police of it. And I think it's going to force, you're critical of BAM now, that they don't do a good enough job for the police pension fund. It seems to me that if you put more preparation time and work on them to create a separate investment meeting, a separate agenda, force the managers to present twice, that actually makes their situation worse, not better. So I'm not seeing how pulling out of the SIM will make things better for the police pension fund and our members and beneficiaries who we have a fiduciary duty to protect.
So John, you should have begun that with a disclaimer though. That would mean that you would have to go to 5 meetings a month as opposed to 1.
That's true for my team.
So we
separate now, as you know, so we can continue.
So there's a bit of a selfishness in arguing for.
But Joe?
Let me just finish. It's a bit of an argument that you're making in order to make it easy for yourself too, to come to 1 investment meeting as opposed to 5. That's neither here nor there, and that's your opinion, and you should have opened up with that because it does affect you.
It does affect me.
Okay.
Totally.
So my only thing is we had an agreement at the beginning about whether to continue the SIM would necessitate a majority vote. That's okay. That's on the table. Now the only problem here is when we're going to have that vote, ultimately or not. So go ahead.
So Joe, I just wanted to say, following along, and this is not a critique of of Moakley or the mayor's office, but the controls representatives go to all meetings, right? And is Suzanne and I primarily.
Okay, so maybe 4 meetings.
So I'm just saying, we go to all the meetings. I just want to remind folks, there's a lot of preparation that goes into going to the regular meeting that requires me to take time and Suzanne to take time to review materials. There are thousands of pages before we get into this room.
You sound like you're making an argument for a raise, John.
No, I'll make that one shortly, but I just want to say there are multiple boards that we sit on. There are multiple cases that we review. There are multiple administrative issues that we handle. And having those 4 extra days, Joe, or those 3 extra days that allow us to be in the office to go through those things, I think enhances our productivity and is a benefit to the members that we're here to serve. Because we can take more time to carefully go through things, whether it be an administrative issue, whether it be a question about how something gets done. And I think that's the piece that is hard to quantify, and it does sound somewhat self-serving, and I will give you that. But we go to those, we want to take that effort, and we want to make sure that the members are served better. And having those 4 extra days to actually comb through that stuff, I think ultimately is a benefit. Whether or not we ever be able to quantify that, I don't know. But I think that's an inherent difference between, again, no offense to the mayor's office and the control's office, we don't have the number of personnel that split up to go to all these meetings. We go to the regular meetings, we go to the investment meetings, whether there's 4, 6, or 12, we're at them, okay? So I just put that in perspective too.
So we look forward
I look forward to always.
If we have this meeting.
I mean, let's be clear.
We have the meeting here, then we look forward to seeing you once a month at the Police Pension Investment.
Hey, Joe Lutarco here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, gotcha.
Just a quick question. Just if we vote to leave the SIM, why is it 4 other meetings that the BAM has to go to? Are they just assuming that all the 4 systems are going to not do SIM anymore? Or is it just going to be 2 meetings, hours, and then SIM? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out, did everybody leave SIM, or is it just 2 meetings now?
Joe, Lou, each fund will be left to their own devices, but I will tell you that I think the other, I don't want to speak for other systems that we were on the board of, but I think that there are merits that other systems see with the SIM. But, you know, look, each body,
So,
if you will,
so John,
will do whatever they want to do and what their prerogative is. And I don't know how appropriate it is for me to speculate in a public session about what other systems would wind up.
no, John, but in all honesty, but in all honesty, that's all you guys are doing now, is speculating that you're going to do 4 other meetings or 5 meetings when we don't know that. Right now, if we leave SIM, it's 2 meetings.
Right,
So-
Lou, we don't know that for sure, but we're talking about, you know, going back to a practice that occurred before the SIM was in existence, and that was 55 meetings a year, you know, 5 monthly meetings.
No, and I appreciate this, Suzanne, because I was on those meetings also. But if we leave the SIM, then right now, all it is 1 extra meeting a month for BAM. And I don't think it's fair for anybody to assume that the other 4 are going to leave. I agree with you. So right now, if the police pension goes forward, to go back to the old way, really it's just adding 1 extra meeting for BAM. Right now,
Maybe.
that's all we think. That's right. Am I correct with that?
Maybe. Who
Well,
knows
I mean,
what will happen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, right now.
Right now, sure.
Yes.
I got it.
I'm looking at the ceiling where the microphone is.
The voice of Lou.
And I think that, you know, both what Lou said and what Joe's been getting at, is maybe what we should talk about, now. You know, there's difference of opinion on the efficacy of the SIM. But I guess what happens if the board doesn't choose to remain in the SIM, to me, is an open question. So, as was mentioned, you know, the controller agreed early on that, you know, participation in the SIM was incumbent on having the majority of the members vote to extend SIM participation. And if we don't have that majority now, I wonder what will happen.
Well, we have a history, don't we? We would have our consultants and BAM bring the deal flow to the board, except that we'll be here, we'll meet, and we'll decide on the investments going forward. What I don't want is what I think has happened, and some have let me know, was that we were told, or our consultants were told, that, that there will be certain deals that we would not be in this month. So explain that to me how.
I don't have that information with me right now, but again.
So you have heard that?
I don't know what you're talking about now. But what I was trying to say was that I think we need to, I'm not satisfied that the board has decided what the forum for investment decisions is going to be.
But wait.
It appears that some people believe that monthly meetings would occur by default, and no other board resolution passed by a majority vote is necessary to establish a monthly investment meeting in lieu of the SIM. I'm trying to determine if this is correct as a legal matter. Can you please provide me with the basis for this position, if this is the position of the board?
Who's asking that?
I'm asking you.
I think that's legal. We need to go into attorney-client and have Marta answer that question.
Okay.
So respectfully, I would ask that we answer it.
So what we're gonna have to do is stop this meeting. I will generate a dial-in that Marta, Lou, and Johnny can call into. So.
Excuse me, point of order. If we have no other business in, can we simply go into an executive at this time?
They're in the public.
Adjourn the public, and then
Do the attorney-client in between the two sessions.
However,
and if we have a resolution, we can come back to the open session at some point at the end.
I think that there's more discussion for the attorney-client questions answered. I don't think we're finished with the discussion.
So why don't we pause this, kill the audio. I will generate a dial-in right now, and we'll just dial in with no video, and I'll send that to Marta, Lou, and Johnny.
Why don't you just leave the thing going?
There's members of the public in here.
You kill the mute, and they can't, if you just.
I
mute-
can't mute everybody but Marta, Johnny, and Lou.
No, I'm saying, I understand the calling, but if you mute the whole call, then you don't have to control there.
The audio is on this, which is where I'm gonna call into the other.
So we're just gonna stop the audio, we're gonna leave this, put it on pause.
That, but I'm gonna
be on pause.
But I have to dial into a new.
No, I know,
meeting.
I get that.
You know what I
So,
mean?
John, we're not cutting.
Not yet.
Got it,
We're
okay.
still on the record.
Okay. So respectfully, can we enter the return?
So we're gonna caucus, yes,
Call.
yeah, okay,
However you'd like to phrase it.
okay. I'm back.
All right, is that Johnny Baxman?
Yep, that was her.
I think we're ready.
Okay, Lou? Turco.
I'm here.
Okay, I think you wanted to talk about the discussion of the history of the vote that you took with, to authorize the SIM?
Well, yeah, I mean, going back when this SIM was first brought to our attention, I actually sat with the controller, Scott Stringer, and the conversation was, and I remember it very distinctly, was let's try the SIM. If at any point you're not comfortable with it, for whatever reason, we could always revert back to the meetings like we normally had. So I think this is a very easy conversation. If at any point we don't feel comfortable with SIM, we can go back to the way it used to be. And I don't see an issue with having 2 meetings a month because I think it's a really big assumption that the other 4 systems are going to drop out of SIM. So I don't see the really the difficult part of this.
Okay.
So Lou, I would just say, I was probably at that meeting, I don't remember it as clearly as you, but in speaking to the controller, recently, I think, you know, his recollection and his feeling was that if the board wasn't comfortable and didn't want to do the SIM, you know, then we could go back or not continue with the SIM. And I think what's, you know, difficult before us now is that, you know, there isn't consensus among the board of what to do. You know, there's certain people who feel strongly about moving in one direction, and that's not shared by everybody on the board. So I think that, you know, that we have to, as a board, come together and make a decision on what's next.
And Susanna, I appreciate the comment, but I was in that room and he needed the union's trustees to buy into SIM. And he clearly, and this is not even I know we may have a difference of opinion, but it was clear to me that the controller was presenting to us that if we did not feel comfortable with the SIM in the future, that we could revert back to the monthly meetings separate from the SIM. And the unions had to buy into the SIM, which we did. And there was no question in my mind that if at any point we didn't want SIM, we could revert back to the monthly meetings that we were having prior to this. So we have a difference of opinion on that, obviously, but in my mind, there wasn't even the question.
Got it.
So, I have another question regarding, was an issue about corpus funding, doing it quarterly. I'm not gonna address it this quarter, but I have a question going forward also. When you do a breakout of corpus, I'd like to know what monies were utilized, for the positions, and what money is being held over.
So I think, you know, we have the invoice as organized and put together by our administration who controls the controller's budget. You know, the administrative folks send that over here. It's now going to be, I think, circulated to the board, and if there's specific changes or line items, you might, when you see it, you might see that a lot of the information that you're referring to is there. But, I would just ask if you want to make suggestions or requests of how it can be changed, just wait until you see it, and then we're happy to tailor it to how the police pension fund trustees would like the information presented.
Well, I just want to make sure that the intent, at least from the PBA, and I'm sure by many others in their fiduciary capacity, is that all funds that are authorized under corpus are utilized and not for the purposes of the beneficiaries, and not, in essence, not utilized or banked or in any way.
Joe, it doesn't work that way.
Okay.
It's billed after the fact. They spend the money, and they bill the pension funds for reimbursement.
Okay.
So there's not a single dollar.
Yeah, and no city agency, mayoral, non-mayoral, can hold over funds from one fiscal year to the next.
So I'm getting my answer. I didn't have that answer before. Good. I think there was a request to, during discussions, to authorize, if this vote is ultimately to get out of the SIM, to do the SIM, not the SIM, the police investment meeting the day after the SIM.
The day after the SIM?
Yeah, after the SIM, sorry.
Thursday?
Yeah.
Third Thursday?
Yeah.
Well,
So hold on, so is that a,
I just putting it out there to be explored.
so record, do you
For
want to
purposes,
do you want to do the retro? I don't know.
yeah,
So,
you would have that discussion. Right?
do you want to do that?
Yeah, so why don't we do the first one, so is the resolution,
I'm gonna ask it.
So in attorney-client, the board drafted a resolution for the uncovered period. I'm going to display that on the screen now. It's identical for purposes of the record to the September 2018 resolution. The last resolved paragraph makes the period effective March 2019 through July 2021. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
well, that the date ending might change depending on further conversation here. So can we make that
So Joe?
ending date
There's a
fluid?
second resolution for that.
Right.
This is just covering the meetings that already
So
happened.
July.
Well, no,
I was gonna say, we could pass this one, and we can always make a friendly amendment
Yes.
if, while we're still in this meeting, if we needed to. But I think that for purposes of, ensuring that we were in compliance, we should move forward with the retro.
So I make a motion to accept the resolution that's on the screen up until July 2021.
Have a second? SBA second. Okay, any objections?
Any objections from the city side?
All right, so there's no objection to the retro.
So moved.
Great. So I'm going to save this. Kevin will sign it after the meeting. And then the second
And
resolution
if you
that,
could please provide a copy.
I'll
of
provide
that,
a copy to the whole
true
board.
copy of that.
And then there is a second one that again is identical to the September 2018 resolution. And I think the board wanted to discuss in the public session how they wanted to handle prospective meetings.
so
Right.
can I ask a question? Whose resolution is this?
It'll be mine.
So
Going forward.
participation in the SIM is your resolution?
It's the resolution as written, right? It was the one that we supposedly
Okay, so
voted
the-
on.
So the PBA is presenting a resolution to continue with the SIM.
It's what we have, right?
Okay.
So
Great.
that doesn't mean it'll pass.
Well, if the PBA presents it, does that mean the PBA is voting for it?
I think the PBA has, we're not gonna go into this. Let's just say, based on prior votes, any trustee can put something on the table and vote against it, as has happened in the past. So if you're holding your hopes on that, I would just say that's not a good hope.
I've never seen that before. It just seems,
I think you were in the room when that happened before.
when someone is presenting a resolution that they're voting against,
If you want to hold on to that hope, go ahead.
Listen, it's not a hope, Joe. You've dashed my hopes in the past. And you'll continue to do so.
And I would say that's it's a pretty good history.
Yes, I'm just trying to clarify, because it
Okay.
doesn't make sense to me that you're presenting this resolution, but it's a free country.
It's a free country. America's great.
So they say.
America's great.
So,
I think there's a conversation
the motion is.
that's going to be
Is there a
had.
motion on the floor?
It's going to be a conversation going prospectively, right?
This is
When?
not a complete resolution.
When this will take effect.
So effective for a period of September, whatever was the last date we had? September 1st, let's call it, September 1st, until December 31st of 2021. And then that would provide the board the opportunity to have another vote in December. For argument's sake. I mean.
And there was
I find it
conversations
funny.
about timing now. If this does not pass, what would be the problems presented by BAM or the controller staff or any other trustees for this month's investments?
So Joe, we would have a conflict on the third Thursday.
Let's not go there.
Okay.
We're not talking about
So,
specific meetings.
today's September 8th, the SIM is on September 17th. There's a lot of, organization and work that goes into preparing, for a common investment meeting, especially a, quarterly meeting with the reporting that we do. And, I don't think that BAM, at this late notice, would be prepared to, present any information at a different meeting in September. So regardless of any date that's thrown out.
So you say regardless of any date?
Regardless of any date that's thrown out, it's too late to ask BAM to organize and present at a meeting in September. And I would suggest tweaking this resolution to include the September meeting.
I think that was your point, Joe. You wanted to extend the expired one through this month.
Right. We originally talked about that, but I'll just ask a question then. Why would that be if the SIM has already been put out, the SIM agenda, that you're not prepared?
So I can't speak to the individual calendars of all of the investment staff involved. And despite what Joe kind of alludes to is light work on behalf of our investment staff, they're pretty focused on diligencing and reviewing manager performance and all of their day-to-day responsibilities, and they get booked up way in advance, and I think it would be disruptive and not a fiduciarily sound decision to change schedules going forward. There's a lot of work that has to be done between now and the end of the year.
Joe?
Yeah.
This is Lou. This is going back to the controller's office. So if we vote to leave SIM, what I'm hearing from the controller's office is we may not be able to do a police pension meeting till the end of the year because they're booked solid for the next 3 months. Is that what I'm hearing?
I was speaking for December, Lou, September, that at this late date, we wouldn't be able to, to agree on a schedule for September. So I'm specifically speaking about September, but I'm alluding to everything that needs to happen between now and the end of, that's already set in motion to happen between now and the end of the year.
No, I'm just understanding. So if we can't book September, then can we book October, November, and December, or we're going to have no meetings for the rest of the year for the police pension fund from the controller's office? Is that I'm trying to understand what is it? The September meeting we're having a problem rebooking, or are we not going to be able to book October, November, December because of the amount of meetings and work that the BAM has? Is that, I'm trying to understand what we're discussing here.
Yeah, I can't say definitively, Lou. I know that, the discussion within our office is that, it would be, very difficult to have individual investment meetings at police and any of the other boards who might request them. But I was speaking specifically about September.
I just find that, again, I just find this to be a little difficult to understand, difficult to comprehend that we can't have a meeting in September because people are overwhelmed because of one more meeting. I find that to be a little difficult to comprehend, but I'm still willing to, Joe, let's vote on this.
Why don't we caucus, and then before we vote on this one real quickly, it would only be a 5-minute caucus. But I would ask also, since this has been presented, I just need an assurance from the controller's representatives that there are no outside engagements by any of the staff this month. Or is anybody going to a conference? Is anybody going to a meeting where they're going to make presentations? Is anything? I just want to be assured that they're not doing anything but their nose to the grindstone and working so diligently for the police pension fund and other pension funds that they're not doing any outside work.
I don't, as I said before, I'm not privy to everybody's schedule,
Okay,
so I can't guarantee that on the record. But I'll tell you that for the most part, there aren't conferences because of COVID. So I doubt that, that presentations or anything else that Joe
Nobody's attending in Zoom?
is happening.
No?
I'm sure they can juggle Zoom, they do a lot of Zoom,
Okay.
as we all do.
All right.
But I wouldn't say that that's the concern. I think the concern is putting their work together in order to.
But their work this month is already done.
Sorry?
Their work this month is already done.
Most of it is already done, but.
I have convened, I could open it up now.
So that would be great.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
But what I assume that they're doing in September is work that's going to be presented to the trustees in October, November, and December.
Well, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about you bringing up this month.
I'm saying, just to be clear,
Okay.
that it would be difficult to schedule a September meeting because it's already September 8th, and people's schedules for September are probably very filled up, and they wouldn't be able to change them, to accommodate an additional date of an investment meeting in September. What they're filled up with, I could not tell you exactly. If that's a question that the board wants answered, I could definitely get back to you.
Hey, Joe, why don't we have a quick caucus and get back and figure out what we want to do?
Yeah, we're gonna go quickly to.
And I'd like the city side to caucus as well. Just tell them we're gonna take a break. We're gonna take a break.
I think I'm on the question.
We're on right now.
Schoolyard.
Hard, I know.
Bobby Sen, Johnny, yeah, Bobby.
Yeah, we're on, Louis, we're just waiting for the city side to finish their caucus.
Boy, we have to do the disability too, right? We're doing that?
Yeah, well, listen, you can walk over for lunch.
I got to get on the vaccination call at 3:00.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to mute. I'm here.
Okay.
Hold on, wait. She's here, yeah. We're on mute. He just said what she just told you.
Oh. Do we have everybody on?
We have time.
You guys can hear us?
Yes,
hear you.
Nicole, I can hear you, Nicole.
Great.
All right.
Okay.
So Nicole, I think there was the prior resolution. Right, and, okay, you changed the date already?
No, this is the previous one.
Okay, that was good until July 31st. So the resolution, I think that should be changed through September 30th, right?
Yes. That'd be a friendly amendment.
Friendly amendment through September 30th. Okay, so, the PBA is fine with that.
Is there a motion to accept this?
Motion to accept?
Second?
Second.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, and then the new resolution going forward, I guess, begins October 1st through, John, you had it?
I mean, I had October 1st through December 31st,
Yeah, so you can
2020.
leave what you got, just write October 1st in front of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Effective October 1st through December 31st.
for a period of 3 months.
Right.
Well, that's what it would amount to.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know,
And so I would, move that motion.
So the PBA would request a roll call vote.
Okay, PBA,
PBA votes no.
DEA,
no.
SBA,
No.
LBA,
No.
CEA.
Johnny?
No, no, sorry about that, no.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner of Finance,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes?
Controller,
Yes.
Police Commissioner.
Yes.
Okay, so it's 6-6, the motion does not carry.
Okay. Given that vote, PBA requests, to the executive director that going forward in October, that you begin to schedule dates for the police investment meeting, and I believe notifications, through BAM to our consultants also for the date that's chosen by the board. And I think with John, do you want to chime in that you had ideas about dates?
Before you do that, I'd like to put on the record that, that the controller, objects to scheduling monthly meetings in October, November, and December. You know, it hasn't been proven at this board that monthly meetings are the appropriate way to go, and there's not, agreement that that's what we want to be doing.
Is that a resolution?
No, it's just a statement.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So noted then. Thank you. All right, and then, we'll need the, request, for that, and also in the future, quarterly resolution to continue corpus funding, as well as the controller as custodian of, as the advisor to the funds.
Joe, I don't think it's continue corpus funding, I think it's to, approve the expenses
Right.
under corpus funding.
Right. I'll take that as a friendly amendment. Thank you, John.
Okay, we have a motion to exit.
Motion to exit, the public session and go into executive for purposes of discussing disabilities.
Second.
Again, I mentioned this before, right, we're going out, we're gonna go back into executive.
I'm gonna close that.
Back in, yeah.
Yes, okay.